Hey, sports bettor. Yes, you. Guess what? Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for its 28th year of NFL action. So, here's what you got to do. Just click the link below in my description box and sign up today. BetUS.com, where the game begins. Long enough to cover the subject and short enough to keep it interesting. Welcome to Outta My League. I'm Nick Diaz. Let me give you some perspective. This Sunday might be the first time that Jameis Winston will play at the exact same time with Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara. Those three have never been on the field at the exact same time together for the Saints. Now, whether they stay together on the field all season long, that remains to be seen. But Michael Thomas, who was nursing a hamstring injury earlier this preseason, he was back at practice today in limited participation, and he also went through walkthroughs on Monday. Now, all things seem good for him to play on Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons. But then Dennis Allen said, we'll see. Now, Dennis Allen's been saying that same thing since Monday, but to me, that just sounds like a coach who doesn't want to make empty promises to the fan base. And why should he? You never really know how things go. But if Michael Thomas was there Monday and in limited participation practice today on Wednesday, I feel pretty confident that he'll play on Sunday. Now, it may be in a limited role on how they will use Michael Thomas. They may even just use him as a decoy. They may have him on a snap count. They may only use him in certain routes. But either way, I don't really think it matters for this game whether or not Michael Thomas plays. And I'll tell you why. The Saints are a 5-point favorite on the road. That's a lot of points for an NFL team on the road. But I usually trust Vegas lines to start the season with the NFL way more than I do to start the season for, say, college football. And the reason is because college football has a bunch of kids and there's a different team practically every year. People graduate. There's new star players, where the NFL, you have grown men, professionals, and the teams, for the most part, stay the same throughout the year. But that's just a lazy take to say, oh, look at the Vegas line, and then just end it there. Look at the matchup on paper. The Saints have improved their biggest weakness from last season. That's wide receiver. And the Falcons' biggest strength from last season has gotten weaker. That's quarterback. The Falcons are objectively weaker at quarterback than they were last year. Their best quarterback in the history of their franchise, Matt Ryan, is gone to Indianapolis. He's been replaced with Marcus Mariota. Now, there's two sides to this quarterback thing. Of course, Mariota is not nearly as good of a quarterback or not nearly as good of a passer, but Marcus Mariota clearly is more mobile. And mobile quarterbacks have given Dennis Allen's defenses trouble in the past. The good news is that there's precedent to this. Marcus Mariota, the Falcons quarterback, and Arthur Miller, who's currently the Falcons head coach, they were together in Tennessee several years ago. Arthur Smith was Mariota's offensive coordinator for the Titans. So you can look at the film and get a pretty good idea of what the game plan is going to be and how he's going to be used. Now, where the Saints are weaker from last season is really only one spot, only one thing, and that's left tackle. A healthy Teron Armstead is better than a healthy James Hurst, which means Jameis Winston's blind side is at a slightly bigger threat. It's not a threat, but it's simply a bigger threat. But the good news is that the Falcons' pass rush is not good. Only 18 sacks last season. They're one of the worst in the league. But what still is of concern is that Trevor Penning is still nursing a turf toe injury, which isn't as bad as we thought. But left tackle James Hurst, who was going to be your starter anyway, he's been nursing a foot injury since the Green Bay preseason joint practices several weeks ago. But Hurst was a full participation at practice on Wednesday. No limited participation, full go. He's not Teron Armstead, but he doesn't have to be. He's more than capable. Now, one of the problems the Falcons could present the Saints is that they have strong pass catchers. That is, without question, the strength of their team. They don't necessarily have a strong pass thrower as they did last year, but they still have good pass catchers, and maybe they even have more of them than they did last season. Tight end Kyle Pitts, who as a rookie last year caught over 1,000 yards. They added other pass catchers like Brian Edwards, who's a wide receiver from the Las Vegas Raiders, and they drafted a first-round rookie wide receiver in Drake London, who I and many others do not think deserved to be taken that high in the first round, or maybe even the first round at all, because when he was at USC, he did not get any separation. It was a lot of physical catches, possession stuff, a lot of contested balls. He was not getting separation from the cornerbacks or safeties. Now, I still think he's going to be used well, and he still has a place in the NFL, but not at the level he was taken in the first round. But he still presents an issue, because this is what hurts, especially with Kyle Pitts. You traded Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is a big physical corner / safety that can guard a tight end and also guard a wide receiver like Drake London. But the thing is that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was never the main guy covering Kyle Pitts the majority of the time last year. And also, I'll continue to say this, despite trading Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, you still have a ton of depth at safety and cornerback spot. All of them in your Saints secondary are very versatile and are capable of playing multiple spots. If they couldn't, then they wouldn't even be playing in Dennis Allen's defense in the first place. The good news is that Marcus May was at practice. Now, he was arrested. As of right now, there's no reason to believe he won't play because he's been accused of a crime. He's not been found guilty. So there's no rule or law that says he has to sit out an NFL football game. So that takes away any issues that the Saints may have in covering Kyle Pitts and some of these wide receivers. But what also helps in covering these tight ends are linebackers, Demario Davis and Pete Werner. Both are available because Werner was nursing an injury, but he was at practice with limited participation. I expect him to play, even if it's only on third down defense, because he's a great cover linebacker. But safety and linebacker play is key if you want to stop the strength of this Falcons team. Because the Falcons, they have to pass the ball if they want to win this game. They just have to, because they can't run the ball at all. Now, maybe they can use Marcus Mariota's legs in certain situations, but they have to pass the football. They know what the game plan is. Because even though the Saints have some questions in the interior of their defensive line, the Falcons' offense was the second worst rushing team in the NFL last season. And also, they have one of the worst run defenses in the league. They're one-dimensional on offense, and they're one-dimensional on defense. So when it comes to quarterback, when it comes to weapons, when it comes to matchup and line of scrimmage play, it kind of really makes sense why Vegas is giving the Saints a 5-point cushion on the road to start the season. Now, it is the NFL, so shit happens, but I expect the Saints to start off the season strong with a win at the Dirty Birds. Thanks for listening to Out of My League. If you like what you heard, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, or follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok in the description link below.